fit 90 minutes, so hope you enjoyed it. Anybody have any questions? Yeah?
Is there any more stuff that you're going to throw into the film, add into the film after Sundance?
I think for international release, because of the end is kind of domestic, where I think we're going to try to match shot for shot, like an Italian version or a German version. Morgan and I were talking about that the other day. Like, it's kind of, U.S. centric. How would it play internationally? So we might pull some international brands. Excuse me. Yep.
How much of all the money you took in was spent on lawyers to get all this money?
I have no idea. I think Morgan has some really good ones, and what I wanted to do was sort of every question that was asked be answered right, like the next scene or scene after. Sorry. And Rick Kernet is the first scene that I cut in the movie, and that was, I think, shot in February. Excuse me. And what I wanted to make is a whole faction movie, and I also wanted to make it mindful, playful, based on Morgan's brand. And then, what was the other thing? Oh yeah, then what's the guy's name? The lawyer at the beginning of Act 2. I wanted to kind of show that we had limitations, and that's what I wanted to do, is like explain all the limitations and still be able to make the same movie, the movie that we really wanted to make and tell the story we wanted to tell. So, anybody else? Yeah.
The brands that sponsored you are kind of the heroes of the show. Did any of them come with you to Sundance?
I think all of them did, except for Sheets.
What was their response?
What's that?
What's their response?
The response was great. I mean, I wanted to show them in a favorable light because they gave us money to make a movie that we wanted to make. And the only one I was worried about was Beth Jones, because she kind of says, what did she say? Superior technology for like when she's describing band. And I was kind of nervous about how she would respond, but everybody loved it. There was not one negative response to the film. So.
Yeah, I really like your shoes. Are those Merrill?
No. Anybody else? No.
Do you storyboard out your process when you edit things? Do you pull up major themes and put them on the blackboard? How do you?
No, this is my first documentary. And so I was really nervous. I met Morgan 5 years ago, I think. My background is I worked on South Park for 9 years. I did Team America, the South Park movie, and I'm used to kind of being able to get away with a lot. And so Morgan and I kind of been talking the last few years about doing a movie together. And when I moved to New York, I started doing commercials, and I hated it. And I was like, how can I find a movie, that's good for me to, kind of keep along the sort of South Park lines? And Morgan's like, I got the perfect one. So he's like, comedy, not advertising, feature. Did I answer your question? Or? Oh yeah, so I was used to a narrative way of telling a story, and like on South Park we had storyboards. And this, I just basically had 400 hours of footage I had to turn into 90 minutes. And so, like I said, I built, the first scene was Rick Kernet, and then the second one was the directors, because those were kind of familiar to me. And when I showed those to Morgan, Morgan's like, make the whole movie like that. And so I just kind of started building chunks of scenes and then started weaving them together. So it was just kind of an iterative process that I think we just finished last week. So, yeah.
What was the funniest part that you were making?
Finding all the stuff like that Nader scene when he's laughing at where he's like doing the shoes. Like I made a whole bin of that kind of stuff, and that's what I wanted to put more of that in, because it is kind of, can be somewhat of a dry topic, and I wanted to sort of show that there was some light in the whole process too, so yeah.
What did Main and Tail pull?
What?
Well, it seems that Main and Tail were going to sponsor, but at the end it seems like they pulled.
No, they did. They sponsored, they just didn't want to pay. So basically that's the whole thing that I don't know if it's necessarily clear. Right, so they were in another Will Ferrell movie, and they just kind of are in on the joke, like the fun part of the place, but they didn't want to pay. Like everybody paid, as you saw, like a different amount, and everybody had like different kinds of like things and contractual obligations that they had about being in the movie. So, anybody else?
So, do you know when the film is going to be released actually?
Middle of April, I think, is the premiere in New York. We just got bought by Sony 2 days before Sundance, so. Yeah.
Are the souvenir cups going to be available?
And sheets, yeah, they're making them. And that was actually probably one of the most fun scenes to cut because I love those guys. They just like, they're awesome. But yeah, it's just going to be in sheets, and they were kind of worried about how like they're regional and they're just from like Ohio down to like Virginia, and I don't know, they still got the joke, I guess. So.
So the Jimmy Kimmel thing,
Yeah.
it said it's opening Friday, right? And it was, it's not, right?
Right. No. Yeah.
So how much of the movie was staged to, you know?
Well, that was the only part.
We just into the movie.
What I wanted to do was also like everything that we put in the movie that Morgan said he wanted to do, we actually did. And so when he said we go on Kimmel or we go on Letterman, I wanted to make sure we had Kimmel or Letterman in the movie. And so through a series of connections, we got Kimmel to do an early taping of a show with Morgan, and the thing that we needed to have him do at the end. So, but yeah, that was pretty much the only thing that was kind of staged. But even then, that's going to air eventually, like after the movie comes out. So, anybody else?
Did you need advertising firms or marketing firms at the beginning, tape, or right off these?
No, that's the whole, like the trick with this movie is because of advertising, they wanted to go straight to agencies and get them to get brands to help us, and Morgan, none of them wanted to do it, so Morgan just kind of bypassed them and did it directly, but none of them paid or anything, you know. Anything else? Oh, yeah.
Did you guys hear from Volkswagen afterwards?
We probably will. No, we haven't. I think we showed it, the premiere was on Saturday, and I think Saturday night we heard from Minute Maid. But I don't know how that happened already, so. It's truth in advertising, so. Yeah.
Any scene that got cut that you really wanted in the film?
I was thinking about that. Let's see. Oh, there's this thing about Sut Jolly, the Indian guy from Amherst, talking about truth in advertising and sort of like how that plays. He talks about diamonds and like how diamonds are kind of a farce in some ways, that there's real no scarcity to it. And it's probably going to be on the DVD extra, but it's a really interesting expose on kind of how we're manufactured to think that diamonds are important to show love and all this stuff. And I had a really great scene I cut, and it just didn't make it in the film. But stuff like that, yeah.
Did you find not needing final approval was a big hang up for a lot of sponsors?
No, I mean, it was just like, I wanted to be faithful to them again, and sort of still be respectful of them, and then kind of still try to tell an interesting story that, you know, people could get across the country and not just make it a Los Angeles, New York film. So I wanted to make it more like honoring them and all the stuff that they, you know, put into the film to let us say what we wanted to say. So.